Okay, so we talked about visibility in graphics. Again, this is important that you check all those ingredients, so you make sure that if you don't see anything, there's a whole process that you go, and it's normally not the computer's fault. It's normally, unfortunately, our faults when we draw. Okay, so just double check those ingredients that we just talked about. So let's try next step. Add foundation wall footing. We're going to go to structure and we're going to just add a footing, and we're going to say what type of footing. It's going to be 36 by 12. Very simple. 3D. In this case, what I'm going to do in 3D is actually hide these walls and hide elements, so I can work with these guys much more easily. Okay. I'm going to select wall foundation, structural foundation. We're going to say the type 3612. That's good. And we can say select multiple. Okay. We select everything, we say finish, and that's done, as you can see. As you can see, there's a problem here, so I don't know if following that. Let me select this chain. Something happened here. I did not say that. You see the base constraint says 12 feet. Who knows why that happened? I'm not sure. Top constraint first, that's good. Base constraint is actually top of footing, 0. Apply. Did everybody see that problem? Let me go back. I really thought that I checked all the parameters, and this could happen anytime throughout the process. So go to the 3D, that's the way to corroborate that everything's going well. You see that detail? That's obviously wrong. It means that the chain of the atrium foundation wall was drawn improperly. So what I'm doing is tabbing, select all of them. You might have it right. And I'm going to change the base constraint to be top of footing. Who knows why that happened. And 0 offset. And that's going to set down. So now it's perfect, as you can see. This type of mistakes are going to happen oftentimes. So just double check in your 3D all the time and see if things are drawn properly, okay, according to what you have in front. Okay, so that's the footing. As you can see, they are associated to the bottom of the structural wall. So if you change the wall, the footing comes down with it. It's very almost like a link configuration, okay? Okay, add structural columns at grid intersection. So we're going to load a family, structural columns square. We're going to edit the type, duplicate 2020. So I'm going to go to the first floor. I'm going to say column. Make sure that you're not under slanted column. That depends on what the previous student in your computer did. You want to do a vertical column, but it's good to know that you could do slanted by clicking 2 points. The columns could be just angled. Okay, vertical, and we just need to load a family. So we say load, unless you open the types and you see the concrete ones here. I don't see them, so I need to load a family. When you load a family, you end up arriving to this set of folders. In case you don't, this is where you have to go. So check it out. And all the families, doors, or any other type of family from Revit is going to be found within these folders. Okay, we need to go to structural columns, and we're going to go to concrete, and we're going to do and select the square columns. Open. Square columns come 12, 18, 24, and 30. Well, what a pain, no? Because we cannot get our 20. So that would be a duplicate case, which is edit type, duplicate 20 by 20. Okay, and then here's where we set the number for 20, which is 1 and 8. No? Good. Say OK. Now you can place 1 by 1, but before placing, I think it's important that we check how we set the parameters so we don't have the same mistake I did before. Best practice, never modify an existing family type, so that will go for all. I will talk about it right after the recording. Always use edit type duplicate, but we need to say from where to where it goes, okay? So we're going to say from level 1 to top of footing as depth, okay? And we're going to do it at grid. So let's go to here, we're in level 1, depth, and we're going to set it to top of footing, okay? We'll say add grids. We're going to select all the grids. We'll say finish. It's telling me you cannot see them, so I'm going to escape and go to 3D and see if they're there. All of them are there, and there are way too many of them, so I will probably go to top of the footing, double click, and start erasing columns that are obviously not properly placed, that are exterior. Probably these ones as well. In the example here, it shows like another grid in the middle. I don't think we need that grid, so that's why there's no columns there. Wherever there's a median of two grids, a column appears, by the way. Okay. I know there's a step afterwards that these columns should be erased because they're excessive. They're not necessary. Okay. Let's go back to the 3D again and just travel around to see how things are looking. I think they're looking good. Okay, this is the erasing and checking out. We're going to add isolated footings, add columns. These are, isolated footings. We're going to go to the isolated option. And we're going to do a structure isolated footing. No structure foundation family is loaded. Basically, there's no loaded family there. We're going to say, yes, I want another one. Structure foundations footing rectangular. Okay, edit type 44:44:18. Okay, let's do it. Isolate it. It tells me, well, there's no families loaded. Do you want to load one? If we don't have any, that means that there's no types. We say, yes, we need something. Scroll down, it's not structural columns, in this case, foundations. Footing rectangular looks like that. Open. It already tries to place another one. We could place it one by one. Why would we ever do that? But we want to set a different type. So again, edit type, duplicate. If I remember well, it's 48 by 48 by 18. So that means that Control C, Control V, okay. 48, 48, 18. Okay. Here's one good way. You can say add columns. You could say add grids if you were in a top plan, but I'm in the 3D, so it only happens with columns. You select the columns, finish. Okay, the level is top of footing, so we're good. And I think it's a good occasion to travel around again and check that everything is good. I think it looks good. Now, we're going to make a difference between the individual footings in the periphery, meaning where they match the column footings and the foundation footings. And we're going to make them thinner in depth, down to 12. For that, we need to duplicate, create another one, and then change them by selecting them. Okay, so let's do it. First of all, what I can do is select one of the footings. Appears that one. We say edit type. No, actually not that one. Let's go to the perimeter. That makes more sense. Edit the type, duplicate, and let's make this one 12. We need to change this to 12, so this is a 0. We'll say OK. You see how it changed after? This is the only one that I have selected, and it has to look like this. This is good. This won't be good if they correspond with a wall. How can we start selecting things properly and nicely? So we could do a couple of things. We could, for example, select everything, filter out and get only the structural foundation. Say okay, we go to the glasses and say isolate category. These are only the foundations. We can select the ones that we need to change, which are the ones in the periphery. By pressing Control, you can add to the selection. Now remember to only select individual footings, okay? Don't select the wall footings. Good, all the periphery, and now you say, hey, I want that to be 48, 48, 12, no? This is the time again to travel around, like, and see that everything is flat and nice. Once you corroborate, you just go to the glass and say reset. You can actually hide these guys if you want. Right click, hide elements. This is good. I think a good saving should happen right there. Next, simplify the structure. I think we did this. We claimed this is a way of dealing with the view range. We actually don't need it that much right now, so I think it's fine. You have to delete some columns. I did this before. Actually, I did not delete those, so let's go back to that. I'm going to go to here and select those two, delete those two as well. Okay. And we're going to do a slab on grade. This is the last one. I'm going to leave it a little bit like starting, and I hope you guys can build upon it. Okay. We're going to do a slab. It's going to be a foundation slab, a structural foundation slab, and we're going to edit the type duplicate, so we call it 8 inches foundation slab. Okay. Where we're going to locate it is pretty much in the periphery. You see the columns. We're going to go all around the columns for each of the buildings. And we're going to draw that line around and say okay once it's done. Okay, we're going to set the level at top of footing, and we're going to set, we need an offset, because if you draw it in top of footing, it's going to be, actually I'll change it afterwards, it's going to be lowered. Okay, so let's do it. It's going to go to top of footing, double click, slab, structural foundation slab. We don't want a rectangle because we're going to have to draw a bit of that around. Make sure the top of footing, and this is actually 8 inches. And we just need to go a bit around. Okay. Now in this, let's call it the magenta decoration phase, you shouldn't, be in a rush. You just do your things like slowly and carefully, so you snap the things. I'm going to escape there. You can escape a couple times before saying okay and just think about it. You don't have to finish it. First thing that I haven't talked about yet is that lines are thick, and it's sometimes uncomfortable to work with that. So you have thin lines as a command, TL, that shows everything thin. Okay. This way we can see the entire set of lines properly without interference of the thickness that the drawing will have. So you could do things like selecting this and say, give me the middle, the mirror axis from this middle point, and it draws that line as well. And you can just start drawing all around carefully. Actually, I'm going to pause it there and continue